Welcome to Mind Mechanics Lab, where we decode the most fascinating stories from history, science, and the world around us. Today's discovery will change how you see things. Let's dive in. Ever felt like your business reality isn't quite solid? Like the opportunities you chase, the strategies you deploy, exist in a hazy state of potential until you really commit? What if I told you that's not just a feeling, but a fundamental truth about reality itself? Forget everything you thought you knew about a predictable clockwork universe. Because at its deepest level, the universe, and by extension your business world, operates on principles so bizarre, so counterintuitive, they challenge our very notion of what's real. We're talking about quantum mechanics, the science that describes how the universe actually works when you zoom in past the everyday, past the microscopic, down to the atomic and subatomic scales. This isn't just theoretical physics for eggheads. This is a profound shift in perspective that, once understood, can fundamentally change how you approach decision-making, risk, and even your definition of success. The Mind Mechanics Lab is all about decoding the hidden psychology behind business. And today we're going to dive into the quantum realm to pull out actionable insights that will sharpen your intuition and empower you to navigate the inherent uncertainty of entrepreneurship. Get ready to have your mind blown, because your reality is far more fluid and responsive than you ever imagined. Let's dig in. For centuries, classical physics, championed by giants like Isaac Newton, gave us a beautifully deterministic worldview. Objects moved predictably, causes led to effects, and if you knew enough about a system, you could predict its future with certainty. This classical framework works perfectly for describing everything from planets orbiting stars to a basketball soaring through the air. It's what we experience every day on ordinary macroscopic scales. But here's where it gets interesting. When scientists started peering into the incredibly small, the world of atoms and subatomic particles, classical physics simply broke down. It couldn't explain observations like Max Planck's solution to the blackbody radiation problem in 1900, or Albert Einstein's explanation of the photoelectric effect in 1905, where light behaved like discrete packets of energy. These anomalies weren't just minor glitches, they were cracks in the foundation of classical thought, leading to what's known as the old quantum theory. It paved the way for a revolutionary new framework, fully developed in the mid-1920s by brilliant minds like Niels Bohr, Erwin Schrödinger, Werner Heisenberg, Max Born, and Paul Dirac. This wasn't just an upgrade, it was a paradigm shift. Quantum mechanics became the fundamental theory, revealing that classical physics is merely an approximation, valid only at larger scales. Why does this matter to you? Because understanding this fundamental layer of reality isn't just about science. It's about building a more accurate mental model for how your world, especially your business world, truly operates. So what is this core idea that shattered classical physics? At its heart, quantum mechanics tells us that at the subatomic level, things aren't fixed. Particles don't have a definite position or momentum until they are measured. Instead, they exist as a wave function, a mathematical entity that describes all possible states a particle could be in, along with the probability of finding it in each of those states. Think of it like a ripple on a pond, representing all potential locations. It's only when you look or measure that this wave function collapses and the particle snaps into a definite position. This concept, known as the Born rule, named after physicist Max Born, means the universe isn't just uncertain because we lack information. It's fundamentally probabilistic. Another mind-bending idea is wave-particle duality. Light, electrons, even entire atoms and molecules can act both as waves, spread out potential, and as particles, definite points. They don't pick a form until interacted with. And then there's the famous uncertainty principle, formulated by Werner Heisenberg. It states that you can't precisely know certain pairs of properties about a quantum particle at the same time. For example, the more accurately you know a particle's position, the less accurately you can know its momentum, and vice versa. This isn't a limitation of our instruments, it's an inherent property of reality. Imagine the implications for decision-making when your reality isn't a certainty, but a field of probabilities, waiting for you to define it. Now I know what you might be thinking. This sounds like science fiction. But the predictions of quantum mechanics have been verified experimentally to an incredibly high degree of accuracy. For instance, the refinement of quantum mechanics for the interaction of light and matter, called quantum electrodynamics, or QED, has been shown to agree with experiment to within 1 part in 1012 when predicting the magnetic properties of an electron. That's like predicting a baseball pitch with an accuracy of a single hair on a fly sitting on the ball. The most famous demonstration of quantum weirdness is the double-slit experiment. Imagine firing tiny particles like electrons at a screen with 2 narrow slits. On a screen behind the slits, you'd expect 2 distinct bands, right? Like bullets hitting a target. But no. If you don't observe which slit each electron goes through, they behave like waves, creating an interference pattern, multiple bright and dark bands, just like water waves passing through 2 openings. Yet each electron is detected at a discrete point, like a particle. It's as if each electron passes through both slits at once, interfering with itself until it hits the screen. But here's the kicker. If you place a detector at the slits to see which slit each electron passes through, the interference pattern disappears. The act of observation forces the electron to choose one path, making it behave like a classical particle. This wave-particle duality isn't limited to light or electrons. Atoms and complex molecules with thousands of atoms exhibit the same dual behavior. Another phenomenon is quantum tunneling. A particle can literally pass through an energy barrier, even if it doesn't have enough energy to go over it. This isn't possible in classical physics, but it's crucial for things like radioactive decay, nuclear fusion in stars, and technologies like scanning tunneling microscopes and tunnel diodes. This isn't just theory, it's how the universe works. So if reality itself is fundamentally probabilistic and responsive to observation, what does this mean for our mind mechanics? The psychological mechanism at play here is profound. Our brains are wired to seek certainty, to create stable models of the world. Classical physics validated this instinct. But quantum mechanics forces us to confront a deeper truth. Much of what we perceive as solid and predictable in our business lives might actually exist in a state of potential until our conscious attention, our decisions or our actions, measure it into existence. Think about a new business idea. Before you commit, before you invest time, money, and focus, it exists as a wave function of possibilities. It could be wildly successful, a moderate success, or a complete failure. It's only through your active engagement, the research you conduct, the MVP you build, the pitch you deliver, that you start to collapse this wave function, narrowing down the probabilities and solidifying a particular outcome. The mechanism isn't magic. It's the power of focused intent and action. Just as observing an electron changes its behavior in the double-slit experiment, Your focused attention and deliberate actions can transform a nebulous set of opportunities into a concrete reality. The uncertainty principle, too, has a psychological echo. In business, the more you try to precisely define one aspect, say perfect market timing, the less flexible and adaptable you might be in another, like rapidly iterating your product. It's a trade-off inherent in complex systems, and quantum physics gives us a foundational metaphor for understanding this dynamic at play in our own ventures. Let's bring this down to earth and see where these quantum principles show up in your entrepreneurial journey. Consider the wave-particle duality and strategy. A nascent business strategy, perhaps a new market entry or product launch, exists as a wave of possibilities. It has potential, but it's undefined. It could pivot in many directions, adapt to various customer segments. But the moment you make a concrete decision, you launch the specific product, target a particular niche, you collapse that wave into a particle. You've chosen one definite outcome from a field of possibilities. This isn't to say other possibilities vanish, but that particular iteration of your strategy becomes fixed, and you start accumulating data on that specific choice. Then there's quantum tunneling. In business, this is about breaking through barriers that seem impossible with conventional thinking. A competitor might have 90% market share, or you might lack the kinetic energy resources to directly overcome a massive obstacle. Classical business logic says you're trapped, but quantum tunneling suggests that with an unconventional approach, a unique angle, you can effectively tunnel through that barrier. Think of startups that disrupt established industries by finding an entirely new pathway to customers or value, bypassing the direct head-on confrontation. And finally, quantum entanglement offers a metaphor for complex partnerships or market dynamics. The properties of interdependent teams, supply chains, or even customer sentiment can become so intertwined that you can't understand one part without considering its connection to the whole. Trying to optimize one piece in isolation will inevitably affect the others, much like entangled particles. Now, it's crucial to address some nuances and avoid common misinterpretations. We're using quantum mechanics here as a powerful metaphor for understanding complex, uncertain business environments, not suggesting that your sales pitch literally exists in a superposition of states. Applying quantum mechanics directly to human beings or the universe as a whole raises significant philosophical problems, like the famous Wigner's friend thought experiment, and remains highly speculative. So, while the parallels are striking and insightful for developing mental models, it's not a literal scientific application to macroscopic human behavior. Also, let's be clear, quantum mechanics doesn't negate classical physics. Classical physics is still perfectly valid for describing the world at ordinary scales, from launching rockets to building bridges. Quantum mechanics is the more fundamental theory, from which classical physics can be derived as a useful approximation. It's like saying a detailed map of a city doesn't invalidate a simple highway map. They just operate at different levels of detail and for different purposes. Another important nuance from the research is about quantum entanglement. While it describes how properties become intertwined, it does not allow for faster-than-light communication, a common misconception. This is demonstrated by the no communication theorem. So while your business network might be deeply entangled, you still need to use conventional channels for communication. The takeaway isn't to ditch logic, but to expand your understanding of reality's underlying principles and apply those expanded principles to your strategic thinking in a world that is inherently more fluid than we typically acknowledge. So what's the actionable lesson from peering into the quantum realm? It boils down to three core principles you can apply today. First, embrace uncertainty as a default state. Stop expecting a fixed, predictable reality. Your market, your team, your customers, they exist as a wave function of possibilities. Don't fight this fluidity. Leverage it. This means cultivating adaptability, designing for iteration, and being comfortable with incomplete information. Second, understand the power of your observation and decision. Just as a particle's state becomes definite upon measurement, your focused attention and concrete actions collapse probabilities into outcomes. Don't just passively observe opportunities. Actively decide which ones to pursue. Your choices are the measurement that gives form to your reality. This isn't about magical thinking. It's about the profound impact of intentionality and commitment in a probabilistic world. Third, think in probabilities, not certainties. When evaluating a new venture or a strategic pivot, instead of asking, "Will this succeed?" ask, "What is the probability of success, and what actions can I take to shift those probabilities in my favor?" This means conducting calculated experiments, gathering data, and being prepared to adjust based on the measurements you receive. The quantum world teaches us that reality is not something you find. It's something you co-create through interaction. Don't just watch your business unfold. Actively engage with it. Don't just plan. Measure your progress, and be ready for your reality to shift based on your engagement. Go forth, measure your intentions, and collapse those probabilities into the success you envision. If you found this mind-bending journey valuable, hit that like button, subscribe, and let us know in the comments how you're embracing the quantum nature of your business. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, hit that subscribe button. New discoveries every Tuesday and Friday. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring,